An Ivy League coach humiliated a black waitress on live TV. 3 months later, that same waitress broke a national record. Most people don't pay attention to the girl in the background. The one cleaning tables while champions are interviewed. The one jogging alone in the dark while others rest. The one who smiles, stays quiet, and never asks for attention. But sometimes, the quiet ones, they're not weak, they're just focused, and by the time the world finally looks up, it's already too late to stop them. This is the story of Ariana Miles, 19, black, from Macon, Georgia. Waitress by necessity. Runner by blood. 3 months ago, Ariana was humiliated by coach Dana Whitmore, the legendary Ivy League coach of Princeton University's track team. Ariana had stayed late after her cleaning shift. She wasn't stealing. She wasn't trespassing. She was just running laps, in silence, until Dana caught her on camera, laughed in her face, posted a video that said, "When the help forgets they're not invited." It went viral. Millions laughed. Thousands shared. No one asked for her side. But Ariana didn't clap back. She didn't post a rant. She didn't fight online. She trained, every night, in silence, in the cold, in hand-me-down shoes, in grief, carrying the weight of a promise she made beside her mother's hospital bed. "If I ever run again, I'll run like the whole world tried to stop me." Now, 3 months later, the girl they mocked is standing at the starting line of the U.S. Open amateur trials, with one shot to qualify for Team USA. And guess who's watching from the stands? Coach Dana Whitmore. And the entire world, holding its breath, because what's about to happen on this track isn't just a race, it's a reckoning. Princeton University isn't just a school, it's a symbol. A symbol of intellect, of legacy, of names carved into brick walls long before most of us were born. The women's athletic dorm sits tucked deep into the north end of campus. Quiet, polished, and purposefully out of reach. The key card to enter the training facilities isn't just plastic. It's a badge. It says, "You belong here." Ariana Miles didn't have that card. What she had was a beige uniform, and a plastic name tag clipped to her chest that read Dinidi Sarvices. Every evening, she served dinner to people her age. People who lived in a world she wasn't even allowed to step into. In Ariana's world, alarms went off at 4 a.m. In theirs, that was the hour you chose between cold pressed juice or a protein smoothie. Ariana sent every spare dollar back home to her little brother in Georgia. They sent texts to their private coaches about nutrition plans and Olympic schedules. And between those two worlds was a track, a running lane, a line, a barrier. One you don't cross when you're just the help. But Ariana loved to run. So after every shift, once the dining hall lights shut off and the campus went quiet, she'd pull a worn-out pair of sneakers from her bag, slip through the back path, and run a few silent laps under the dark sky. Not for time, not for glory, but to feel like herself again. No one noticed, no one asked, no one cared, until that night, when Coach Dana Whitmore, the same coach who had trained 4 Olympians, happened to catch Ariana mid-run. She didn't shout. She didn't stop her. She simply pulled out her phone and started recording. Ariana didn't flinch. She knew she'd been seen. But she didn't run away. She finished her lap, sweaty, out of breath, walked over, and just nodded. That's when Dana looked her straight in the eye. Not angry, not loud, and dropped a sentence like a razor blade. "You're just here to clean, not to dream." Then she turned around and walked away, leaving Ariana standing there, not speechless from shock, but from something far heavier. Because she'd heard those words all her life, just never from someone that powerful, and never on ground she loved so much. That sentence, "You're just here to clean, not to dream," should have faded into the cold night air like every other wound Ariana had swallowed over the past 19 years. But this time, it didn't disappear. The next morning, during a break between team drills, Coach Dana Whitmore posted the video to TikTok. 12 seconds. No context, no caption needed, except, "When the help forgets their place, humble yourself." No one at Princeton thought it would spread. But like anything soaked in subtle cruelty, toward blackness, toward poverty, toward the invisible, the algorithm loved it. 3 hours later, 200,000 views. By hour 6, trending on Twitter under "Face Stay in Your Lane." By hour 12, Ariana stood at the industrial sink in the dining hall, watching her reflection shimmer behind splashes of dirty water. As she read the first few comments. What's she doing? Auditioning for the Olympics. Those busted shoes couldn't outrun a cafeteria cart. A waitress thinking she's a star sad. She didn't comment. She didn't repost. She didn't defend herself. Because she knew, in the eyes of most people, why she ran didn't matter nearly as much as who recorded her doing it. And in this game of class and perception, Coach Dana Whitmore always won. Dana received no backlash. If anything, she was applauded. Parents, donors, even fellow faculty chimed in. Young people these days don't know their place. She needed that reality check. Dana keeps it real. Love that about her. Ariana read every word. Each one felt like a paper cut across a heart that had already healed too many times. But like that night on the track, she didn't stop. She didn't rage. She didn't break. There was no room in her chest for anger, only a quiet ache. Where a promise still lived. A promise whispered in the dim light of a hospital room. If I ever run again, I'll run for something bigger than myself. And maybe, just maybe, it was Ariana's silence that made people pause. When the humiliated don't react the way the crowd expects, the crowd gets curious. A student filmed her washing dishes that evening, posting it with the caption, "Wait, isn't this the girl from the TikTok?" Another snapped a photo of her sitting quietly outside the practice field, reading a book during her break. She's still here, still working, still running. And little by little, those who once laughed, started watching again. This time, differently. Not as if she was some lost server pretending to be more, but as something harder to define, and impossible to extinguish. Across campus, in an old office filled with dusty trophies, Coach Elijah Brown, the man Dana once forced off the team for being too old school, watched the original video in silence. He paused it at the bend, Ariana's stride, her posture, her breath, there was no mistaking it. "That girl doesn't run," he whispered. "She escapes." Ariana Miles wasn't born to be noticed, she was born to survive. Macon, Georgia. A town where the sound cuts out traffic, and kids learn to run before they learn to write. Ariana ran from the time she could stand. She ran to escape arguments in the kitchen. She ran when there wasn't enough food on the table. She ran when ambulance sirens shattered the night. And it was her mother, not a coach, not a teacher, who first called her the little wind. Because every time Ariana ran, her mom would whisper, "It's like all the pain tries to chase her, but can't keep up." At 15, Ariana won the Georgia State Gold. College letters followed. Even someone from the Junior Olympics program reached out. It felt like the beginning of something beautiful. Then her mom got sick, stage 4 cancer. Ariana turned down every scholarship, stopped competing, dropped out of high school. She started washing dishes and waiting tables, and moved her mother to New Jersey, paying for treatment with what little insurance she could scrape together. She stopped running. No time, no space, no reason, until the night her mother died. Ariana held the same worn, fragile hand that used to wipe the blood from her skinned knees, and whispered, "If I ever run again, I'll run for you. I'll run all the races you never got to finish." A weeks later, Ariana took a job at Princeton. Not for academics, for rent, for her brother's prescriptions, for the version of life that doesn't collapse overnight. But the track was still there. Silent, still, waiting. After every shift, when the campus turned quiet, it became her refuge again. And one night, after Dana's video had gone viral and made her a meme, Ariana showed up like she always did. No hood over her face, no attempt to hide. Just her beat techers, cheap headphones, messy bun, and steady breath, same rhythm, same stride, same fire in her eyes that said, "Nothing in this world is going to make me turn around." From across the track, under the yellow haze of an old stadium light, Coach Elijah Brown watched. For the third night in a row, not calling out, not interrupting, but tonight, he stepped forward. "You run like someone with nothing left to lose," he said as she slowed down, chest heaving. Ariana nodded. "That's because I don't." "You also won like someone who's got something to prove." She gave a tired smile. Eyes red, but still sharp. "That too." Elijah didn't respond right away. Instead, he reached into his coat pocket and handed her a folded sheet of paper. "An application for the US Open Amateur Trials. You've got 12 weeks. He said. "It's not a lot. But if you can remember why you started, I'll make sure you finish strong." Ariana looked down at the form. Her hands shook. Not from fear, but because for the first time in forever, someone didn't look at her like a shadow. They looked at her like an athlete. "I don't want revenge," she said softly. "Good," Elijah replied. "Because this isn't about revenge. I just want to give my mom something she never got to see." "And what's that?" Ariana lifted her head. The September wind caught her hair like wings. A daughter who didn't run away, but ran her way forward. Training doesn't start with a whistle. It starts with silence. A heavy, respectful silence, as if the past is waiting to be reopened. But this time not as a wound, as a lesson. Coach Elijah Brown brought Ariana to an old practice field just outside Princeton. Grass pushed through cracked asphalt. The wooden bleachers sagged under their own weight. There were no record boards. No fans. Just two people, one who had been forgotten, and one who had never been seen. "Speed isn't the first thing you train," Elijah said. "It's why you need it." Ariana didn't respond. She just nodded. And began. Not to escape, but to redefine. Week 1, she focused on breath. On balance. Week 2, sprint drills burned her knees and left her lungs in pieces. Week 3, Elijah had her running in sand. In rain, uphill. Every step felt like it peeled open old memories. Each second a reminder that quitting was never really an option. There were nights she nearly collapsed. Soaked sneakers. Sweat-streaked shirt. Streetlight shadows stretching long across the pavement. But every time her eyes drifted to the calendar taped on the wall, the red circle around the date of the US Open amateur trials, she got back up. Every lap, she whispered, is proof that my mother's still watching across campus. Coach Dana Whitmore began to hear the whispers. Someone said Elijah was coaching a waitress. At first, Dana laughed. Elijah, coaching, the help. But when the name Ariana Miles came up, her smile faded. She remembered that look. The night she humiliated her. Ariana didn't cry. Didn't lower her head. She just stood there, silent, and walked away, as if Dana's words weren't heavy enough to stop her. She's back. Dana asked her assistant. Yes. And she's registered for the trials. That night, Dana made a bold move. She signed up for the trials herself, publicly stating it was to inspire her athletes. Privately, it was about shutting Ariana down, for good. The media caught on quick. ESPN ran with the headline, Princeton's coach to compete in open trials. A comeback or a challenge. Oh, on TikTok, clips spread fast. The Queen vs the Waitress. Ariana saw the headlines after practice. Her hands still trembled from exhaustion. You scared? Elijah asked. Not of losing, she said. I'm scared I won't be strong enough to turn pain into a voice. Elijah rested a hand on her shoulder, his eyes looking somewhere far off, maybe 20 years back, to someone who once asked him the same thing. Then we don't run to win, he said. We run to tell the story. The one they've been trying to write without you. Ariana's story was no longer hidden. It had stepped out of the shadows. And now, it was headed straight toward the starting line, where millions would be watching, not to see how fast a girl could run, but to see how far a soul once discarded could finally learn to fly. 3 days before the race, the name Ariana Miles shot to the top of national search trends, not for breaking records, not for a scandal, but for one bold headline. The waitress who dared to challenge a legend. Ariana read the article on an early morning train from Princeton to New York, on her way to get fitted for her race day shoes. The train rattled down the tracks, her phone buzzed nonstop, texts from friends, strangers, reporters. Some messages were encouraging, some were warnings, and of course, some were the usual mockery. You think new shoes will help you fly? Stop pretending. Girls like you don't belong at the starting line. She turned off her phone. No replies, no posts, no rants. She stuck to the same principle she'd held since day one. I won't talk. I'll run until they understand. At the National Training Center, the media tent buzzed with tension as Coach Dana Whitmore strutted in for her press session. Designer tracksuit, flawless smile, all eyes on her. A reporter stood up. Coach Whitmore, is it true you entered this race just to face Ariana Miles? Dana smirked. Not a blink. I don't know who Ariana is, she said, but I've heard she serves food, quite professionally. The room erupted in laughter. Across town, in a quiet hotel room, Coach Elijah Brown watched the interview unfold. He muted the screen. Behind him, Ariana was tying her shoelaces. No longer timid, no longer unsure. Now every part of her moved like an athlete. You don't have to respond to her, he said. I know. Ariana nodded. Because I'm not running to beat her. Then why are you running? She turned to the mirror. Hair tied back. Faded track tee. Lean muscle. Eyes steady, locked in. I'm running so the daughters of women like my mom know they don't have to ask permission to dream big. That night, Elijah handed her a small wooden box. Your mom left this for you. Inside was a folded piece of paper, ink faded with time. Blue handwriting, a little crooked, but unmistakably hers. You don't have to win. You just have to never bow your hide. Not from fear, but because this story wasn't just hers anymore. The next morning, Ariana stepped into the competition arena. She wasn't alone. Behind her Coach Elijah. To her left a group of black athletes who showed up just to cheer. To her right hundreds of eyes, some curious, some doubtful, some amused, some cruel, and ahead the starting line. In the warm-up room, Ariana spotted Dana Whitmore across the space. Still polished, still expensive, still smug. Their eyes met. Dana walked over, her smile dripping with certainty. I hope you enjoyed your 15 minutes of fame, Ariana. Ariana didn't smile back. Thanks, she said. Because I'm just getting started. When the loudspeaker called the runners to the track, Ariana Miles stepped onto lane 6. She didn't wave. She didn't bow to the crowd. She didn't force a smile for the cameras like the others. She simply stood still, placed her hand over her heart, closed her eyes, and whispered softly, Mama, I'm here. The New Jersey sky was clear that day. Mild sun, a gentle breeze. No one said it aloud, but everyone could feel it. Something was about to happen. The track felt longer, quieter. Even the crowd seemed to hold its breath, In lane 4, Coach Dana Whitmore stood in her signature gear. Limited edition Nike spikes, a tee with her name printed bold. She glanced at Ariana, nudged her shoulder slightly, and whispered just loud enough. "Let's see if the help can finish a lap." Ariana didn't turn. She'd heard it all before, all her life. "On your marks," Ariana inhaled, slow and deep. Lowered her body, toes just brushing the starting line. Set. All the noise faded. Dana was gone, the crowd, gone. Only her heartbeat remained. And memories, her mother, the little house in Georgia, the sound of the breathing machine, that note in blue ink. "You don't have to win. Be Ange." The gunshot cracked. And Ariana took off like an arrow released from a drawn bow. Dana surged ahead in the first 100 meters. She had the experience, the form, the years of elite training. Ariana didn't rush. She kept her patient curve. Dana started to feel it. Something was wrong. Ariana wasn't falling behind. She was closing in. The broadcast announcers shifted tone. "Wait a minute. This isn't just a feel-good story. This girl is actually keeping up." Then came the twist. In a move to spice up their live coverage, ESPN aired unreleased footage. A clip from 4 years ago of 15-year-old Ariana Miles at the Junior Olympic trials. Skinny frame. Hair tied in a rush, eyes sharp as blades. She had shattered a national youth record. But 2 days later, she withdrew from all competitions. No interviews, no farewell tour. The reason? Her mother was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Ariana walked away in silence. Now, the crowd changed. They no longer saw Ariana as a nice story. They began to believe. Final stretch. Dana pushed. But couldn't. Guyana pulled ahead. Her feet barely touched the ground. Her eyes locked forward. Heart pounding like war drums. She didn't look sideways. Didn't care where Dana was. She just ran. Not to beat anyone. But to reclaim everything that had ever been taken from her. From the coaches who overlooked her. From the system that ignored her. From the moment the world told her she didn't belong. A voice screamed from the coaches section. "GORAA! You're rewriting everything." And she did. In the final 5 meters, Ariana surged ahead, not because Dana slowed down, but because Ariana had never allowed herself to stop. She crossed the finish line like the world behind her no longer existed. The crowd erupted. Cameras zoomed. National TV flashed the headline. Ariana Miles. Una oficial fres Pi and Dana. She stopped mid-track, head bowed, not because she lost, but because, for the first time in her life, she had no words left to mock. The stadium clock lit up with a number no one dared believe: 51.03 seconds. A new meet record. The crowd erupted. Reporters swarmed toward Ariana Miles, the woman who had just outrun over 20 elite athletes, including Princeton's own head coach. But Ariana didn't raise her arms. She didn't pose. She simply placed her hands on her knees, bent over, gasping for air, as if she'd poured her entire being into those 400 meters. And then, she looked up, and smiled. Not the smile of a champion, but the smile of someone who had just reclaimed what should have always been hers. In lane 4, Dana Whitmore stood frozen. Sweat soaked through the back of her shirt. But her eyes stayed dry. As if her mind couldn't process what had just happened. In the stands, the same people who once laughed at Ariana, now whispered among themselves. "Ooh, even is she? No way, she's just a cafeteria worker. She just beat a national coach." But there was one person who wasn't surprised at all. Coach Elijah Brown. He simply stood there. Hands in the pockets of his old windbreaker. His eyes lit like he was witnessing the birth of something historic. The official results were released less than an hour later. Ariana Miles, first place. Olympic B standard. Invited to join the national training program. But that wasn't all. A resurfaced video, the one of Ariana at age 15 breaking the youth national record, became the most viewed ESPN YouTube clip in 24 hours. Meanwhile, Dana Whitmore's past TikToks, especially the infamous "when the help forgets their place" clip, resurfaced like ghosts. Over 300 Zallos and furious comments poured in within 48 hours. "Ooh, forgot her place now. This didn't age well, coach. Ariana just cleaned the floor with your ego." Sponsors pulled out. Princeton launched an internal investigation. 3 days later, a quiet resignation letter was submitted. No press conference. No farewell tears. And Ariana, she kept working in the campus dining hall through the end of the month. Not because she needed the money, but for something simpler. "This is where I started. And I'll walk out with my head high. Not run away." In a short interview with Sports Illustrated, a reporter asked, "Ariana, what does today's victory mean to you?" She paused, then looked past the camera. Straight into the eyes of every brown and black girl watching from their screens. "This isn't just my win. It's a win for everyone who was ever told they weren't enough. Not white enough. Not rich enough. Not in the right place. I didn't run for revenge. I ran to remind them. We don't need permission to dream big." The reporter went silent. The cameras stopped rolling. And the world went on spinning. But somewhere, in the hearts of millions, the story of a girl once dismissed as just the help. Now a national symbol of defiance and grace. Etched itself into something permanent. Not because she won a race, but because she made the world reconsider what it truly means to be worthy of respect. 3 months after that historic victory, the name Ariana Miles was no longer just a fleeting trend online. It had become an action, a statement. For thousands, even millions of girls who once kept their heads down, to now start standing tall. At the U.S. National Training Center in Colorado, a single photo hangs on the main hallway wall. Ariana in a plain white race uniform. No makeup, no retouching, just her eyes, focused forward, and the quote beneath. I didn't come to fit in. I came to finish what others never started. Ariana didn't stop competing. But she did something even bigger. She founded the Second Lane Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to young athletes who'd been pushed out of the system for reasons that had nothing to do with ability, skin color, zip code, income, body type. At the foundation's launch event, Ariana didn't deliver a long speech. Instead, she held up a pair of worn, out running shoes, the very same pair Dana once mocked in front of an audience. These are the shoes I won in. Not because they were good, but because no one ever looked at them and believed they were going anywhere. Just like they used to look at me. The headlines began to shift. The uninvited Olympian. The girl who ran alone. So others wouldn't have to. And the miracle. Ariana never sounded bitter. She didn't use her mic to drag Dana through the mud. She didn't use the spotlight to rehash old wounds. Instead, she showed up, school by school, to public high schools where the bleachers had splinters and the tracks were cracked. She donated shoes, funded gear, but more than that, she told her story. No grand metaphors, just truth. About a girl who used to clear tables in silence. About a viral video that tried to humiliate her. And about how she stepped onto that starting line. Alone, uninvited, unsupported. And beat the system with nothing but her dignity. At one high school in Newark, a black 10th grader scribbled something on the chalkboard after her talk. She didn't ask to be allowed in. She ran so hard they had to open the door. On a national TV interview, the host asked, Ariana, now that you have it all. Fame, sponsorships, medals, what are you most proud of? She smiled softly, bowed her head, then looked up and said, what I'm most proud of? That somewhere out there, there's a little girl. And when someone tells her, you're not good enough. Not the right color, not born in the right place, she'll remember me, and she won't believe them. Ariana Miles was no longer just an athlete. She had become a symbol of quiet resilience, a reminder that sometimes, the greatest champions come from the second lane, not because they were invited, but because they dared to show up. And ran until no one could stand in their way again. Paris Olympics. The following summer. The Stade de France is packed to the brim. Stadium lights beam down on each lane like invisible borders, separating the chosen from those who were once left out. In lane 7, a name lights up on the giant LED screen, Ariana Miles. USA cheers erupt from all directions, but Ariana hears only one voice. A voice she's known her whole life. Her mother's. You don't have to win, just don't bow your head. She inhales deeply, her eyes scanning the crowd until they find Coach Elijah. Arms folded across his chest, wearing that same quiet smile from the very beginning. No Dana Whitmore, no more mockery. Just Ariana, facing herself. When the starting gun fires, she takes off like a streak of light. She isn't thinking about the finish line. She isn't thinking about medals. She's thinking about the late night shifts. The worn out shoes. The looks that said she was just the help. And the nights she asked herself if dreaming was something she was even allowed to do. She thinks of her mother, of the eyes that handed down a dream unfinished. She finishes second, half a stride behind the gold. And when the cameras zoom in on Ariana's face, she smiles. This time without holding back. She raises her arm, not in victory, but in fulfillment. Later that evening, at the Olympic honors ceremony, Ariana is called to the stage to receive a special awardee, the Olympic inspiration icon. As she walks up, no gold medal around her neck, yet receives a standing silence. The kind reserved not for those who win, but for those who silence the world by rising above their own silence. I used to be a cafeteria girl. I used to stand on the sidelines, cleaning up other people's dreams. But today, I stand here not to represent America, but to represent everyone who was never told they mattered. I'm not the strongest athlete, not the fastest. But I know this much. You don't need an invitation to enter the arena. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is walk in without asking. The room rises to its feet. Thunderous applause echoes. But Ariana quietly steps off the stage, the same way she's stepped into every starting line in life, one meaningful stride at a time. Her story spreads across the globe. But she knows the most important part of it isn't found in the stage, the medals, or the headlines. It lives in the eyes of a 14-year-old girl somewhere, standing on a cracked school track, lacing up her older sister's hand, me down spikes, about to run her first ever trial. And when someone scoffs and asks her, "Who do you think you are?" she'll answer, "I'm Ariana Miles. I'm me. And I'm just getting started."